So we want to know more about the pilots. I can be aware that I thought it was going to be more, but I can understand it. It was a good one. It was interesting at the same time. I highly recommend it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Classy Nerd Talk, where we talk about who actually really shot Kennedy. It wasn't Oswald. It was actually the comedian from The Watchmen.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you should know that. But. Wow. So,
learn something new every day.
This video is this little playlist that we've been doing for a while. It's called Movies Then and Now. I'm Now, he's Then. If you want to know more about that, the first 3 videos in that whole playlist actually explains how it goes through it. From there, let's move on. Okay, so last week I picked the genre of comedy, and you picked the genre of animation. So I'll let you go first since I was.
Oh, you're so gracious. Thank you.
Okay, so I picked animation, and I picked a movie, Rock-a-Doodle-Doo, which was 1991. Mm-hmm. So. Take it away, Titan.
And you know, it's not like watching Toy Story the first time, and you're so amazed, and everything is all good and stuff. So, but anyway, Rock-a-Doodle, 1991. Really, what I'd like to do here is just read the plot off of Internet Movie Database. Hopefully, we don't get in trouble for that. But it's about a boy named Edmund, whose favorite character is Chanticleer. And Chanticleer is a rooster who sings every morning because he makes the sun rise. Who didn't know that? Until one time, the Grand Duke of Owls, who he kind of despises the bright sun, makes him look like a fraud. Everybody laughs at him. Chanticleer leaves. He's driven from the farm. The owls put the place under a spell of perpetual darkness and rain. And it starts to flood. As Edmund's own farm floods, he calls to Chanticleer, and instead he summons the Duke, who transforms him into a kitten, and because he wants to devour him. But he gets rescued by Chanticleer's friends, Patu the Hound, Snipes the Magpie, and Peepers the Mouse. And then they have to go on an adventure. They go to the city to find Chanticleer. And this movie is The Wizard of Oz. The only thing we're missing is a scarecrow, a tornado, and a house dropping on a witch. As you can tell by the tone of my voice, folks, I'm not really a fan of this movie, and so I apologize if you are. I remember back in the day when it came out, and I don't remember if we were still renting movies at the time or it was a pay-per-view, watched it with my kids, and when you asked me to watch this, I thought, wow, that name sounds familiar. And it's not something I dig into kids' movies or in my movies. I don't have this. Usually if there's something really good the family liked, we had it because the kids would watch it over and over. For example, we had a tape of The Sound of Music. I think my kids about ran the tape out till it almost broke. But that's just another story. Anyway, the movie goes on. They go in the city. A lot of big lights and stuff like that. There's some sexual innuendos with the, I don't know, or Miss, it's not going to call it Miss Kitty, the girl bird kind of thing. The only thing I really personally found great about this movie was the people who did the voices. Those were great actors doing the voices. And the only things that I found really good about the movie itself was the end when, again, I was waiting for them at the end for his mom to say, Dorothy, wake up. And it really wasn't. It was Edmund. Which Dee Wallace, I like Dee Wallace, but she only had a couple spots in the whole movie. So anyway, Edmund wakes up. He runs out there because the animals are out there and stuff, and they have a little sing. He jumps on the fence, and it was really good, animation because it shows him climbing on the fence and sitting on top. I thought, wow, they did that part really good for putting live action with animation. And that's the happiest part of the whole movie.
Okay, so moving on. Why I picked actually this film for you was this movie is actually very nostalgia. So it isn't that.
It's not that old.
Well, to me it is.
Oh, it's for you
because it's from the '90s. And
when you were a kid.
I was still a kid. But the thing is why I love this movie so much because me and my brothers would run the crap out of this VHS.
Oh, I thought it was because Chanticleer tried to look like Elvis. I thought that's why you liked it.
No, see, I'm not an Elvis guy, but yeah, you also have to take in consideration that they make Chanticleer like this big muscular guy, and he's got like the hair back. He's like, kind of Elvis steel. And most of his music is like that. But what I liked about this film was when I was a kid, I remember the whole story. The best part I really like how they did the animation for the part where they transition to, because at the beginning, Evan and all that is actually reading from a book.
Correct. His mom's reading him the story.
Yeah, and what happens is when he summons.
When he yells for Chanticleer and the owl comes in,
he makes it transitions to animation.
It does,
and I thought that was really cool.
And I agree with you there. I apologize, folks. There was another part I liked: the scene where the owl changes him into a cat, and the sparkles and how he kind of faded down into his clothes. That was very well done. I did enjoy that part too.
I really like that, and the music that was put into that film, I actually like. Some things, but I think. My favorite.
Again, he likes Rockadoodle singing like Elvis.
Yeah.
Just admit it, dude. Just admit it. That when kids are little, that's cool.
Well, also too is I'm trying to think who did the voice for the narrator. Who was the narrator?
The narrator, Phil Harris.
Phil Harris, yeah, he was really good. And he also played the dog that couldn't tie his shoes. Patu. Yeah. He'd always bite people. And
try to.
And I thought this was why I like this film so much is because it brings back that nostalgia, and also too is it also promotes something that has really changed me as a person when I was a kid. Was the part at the end where you think the Duke of Owls is actually going to win, and he's got Chanticleer under this water, and he's got like this claw on top, like this wooden claw. And Chanticleer's hearing all these voices like, oh, he's a phony, he's a fake, because what it was Chanticleer was grown up on the farm believing that he rose the sun by him singing, because, if you know the whole rooster, old myth where it's like, cock-a-doodle-doo, that means they raise the sun. But come to find out that when he sends in a spy to make Chanticleer miss the sun, those people turned on him because they're like, you're a phony. It came up without him. Yeah. And that part, he hears all that problems and troubles at the end of that film. And then you hear Evan, the guy that brings Chanticleer to being Chanticleer, was like, you got to crow. You got to crow, bud. You got to crow because people depend on you. Yeah. And that actually brought me to my life where sometimes you have problems and conflicts and you have to do what you have to do the things that you have to do. And when he crows, it's the most powerful part of the movie because it's the song bit that he does where it's like, cock-a-doodle. I love that transition that he does. It's so powerful when you're a kid. Now, I'd probably be like, that's corny.
Maybe it is. I think the movie misses the point. Well, I think there's some stuff that probably shouldn't be. But I think it misses the point that when everybody turned on him, later in the movie, it doesn't show or doesn't tell, especially for young kids watching this, hey, they shouldn't have turned on him. You kind of get that through the movie, especially as an adult, you realize that. But a lot of times I think younger kids wouldn't get that. Maybe a 7-year-old might. 10-year-old would probably. But they didn't make it a point saying, hey, you shouldn't have done this to him, or you shouldn't, and you shouldn't, as reflected in real light, you shouldn't do that to people. Give them the opportunity, give them their chance. Don't belittle people. Hey, if somebody makes a mistake, they make a mistake. That's was my feeling. It missed a little point there. The thing that really surprised me is I didn't know that Glenn Campbell did Chanticleer. Mm-hmm. So in all that singing and stuff, I kept thinking, the voice is familiar to me, and I really couldn't place it until I looked up who the cast was, which I thought was pretty good. Okay, Glenn Campbell, I can deal with that. Cool. Also, a back note on Phil Harris as the narrator and Patu. If anybody watches this movie and you recognize that voice, you recognize him as Baloo, the bear from Jungle Book, or Little John, the bear in Robin Hood, 2 other animated shows that were really good. Mm-hmm. So, again, to me, better than this. There was one other thing. I think I did mention that Dee Wallace was the mother, but the one who does Pinky, the manager, Terrell Brook, he was Boss Hogg in The Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, yeah. Pinky.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, I know his name. I could recognize his. He's got a very distinct name. And the other one, Christopher Plummer, was kind of hard to distinguish as the Grand Duke, voice-wise. But the one, as soon as I heard him, the guy who did Snipes' voice, Eddie Deason, you can't miss that voice anywhere. The real whiny.
Yeah. See, I love Snipes because that's like one of my favorite characters. That part where they're in like that RV and he pulls out and he's like, "That can of tuna," and then like the can opener, he's like,
or when they're going down the drain and they're in that chest. You gotta get out. He's poking holes and everything, and he's like, it's like, oh my gosh.
Oh wait, that's the bird. Oh, I'm talking about the other bird that was the Grand Duke's little bird.
His nephew?
Yeah, his nephew.
Who was that? That was, gosh, I can't.
No, but I love that part with that. But also, too, is...
Charles Nelson Riley.
Yeah, Charles Nelson Riley. Man,
I recognize that.
Plays that maniacal guy right. Yeah. He's just like, And what's really cool is he's being bullied the whole time, and at the end, he's just like, hey, Duke.
You're small. Pull out a
small.
flashlight. I'm going to get you.
Yeah. So overall, what would you rate this movie?
Well, I'll tell you what. As we sit here and talk about it, we're having fun, joking about it and everything. And remember, recognize the voices and things. That was good to me because I love movies that brings back, especially a lot of these older characters and lets them do these newer movies and do the voices in the animations and stuff. It kind of makes me feel bad, but I really want to say I want to give it a 4 out of 10 for the movie itself. Now, if you want to talk about the parts we liked and the voices, the people doing the voices, I'd probably give that that part a 7 by itself.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm not even sure if your kids will like this. They might. Again, it wasn't in our family archive because we watched it the first time and it really didn't hit home with us or the kids. So that's why we never watched it again.
Yeah, it was just, as a movie itself, if you're watching it, just because you've never watched it before, I would rate it a 4. I would. But since my nostalgia of it is, it brings back memories.
Your nostalgia is an 8.
Yeah. Well, my nostalgia is more of like a 7.
Okay.
But the thing is because it reminds me of a memorable time with my brothers watching this film.
And sometime we probably ought to do a show on that. Yeah. Just nostalgia, just a remembrance and stuff. Because when you talk about things, when you watch things, granted, a lot of stuff I'm giving you, I remember watching growing up as a kid. And the thing of it is, how does that view today? Which it's kind of nice because sometimes when you look at these and you say, I actually like the film, which makes me feel good because thinking, all right, if I watch again, I like the film too. Other times you look at it like, what did I see so compelling about that? And then that's where we can get into, say, hey, some of these older movies we watch as kids, either even today we like it, or we really like, leave it for kids. We wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah, but overall, I like the film. But that was the nostalgia of me being.
And that's why you wanted me to watch it, just to see what was there.
Because the thing was it was one of those movies that I still hold dear to my heart as a kid inside of me. That
Correct.
It's a really good movie.
And that makes sense.
Okay, so moving on, I picked comedies, so I got Safety Last. Safety Last is a 1923 film that's black and white, silent film. So I'm actually a big fan of silent films. I love Charlie Chaplin films. Love City Lights, anything that involves Charlie Chaplin. I'm pretty sure I've watched most of it. Gold Rush. Oh my gosh, I love that movie.
We'll have to have you watch some Buster Keaton sometime.
I like Buster Keaton. Buster Keaton's not too bad. But overall, what I wanted to start out with this is like if you're a little bit younger than I am or you're close to my age, it is a silent film, so that means there's no audio except for like music. They kind of play music over the whole thing, and then they'll lip, and then there will be like a thing that pops up, and they'll say what they say. Sometimes, most of the time. So most of the film, you're reading the film, But this one's a comedy, so it's kind of weird to see how they transition. What's really cool about silent film, especially this one, is they use the environment to tell the story. They don't rely on dialogue. And what I like is, the part where she's there and he's like, and he's sitting outside the general manager's office and his girlfriend's like, he's the general manager? Because she sees the door, but actually he went in because he was getting in trouble. And he was like, I'm a general manager. So they didn't have to pop up that's what she was saying. You kind of led into that. But this movie's about a guy that goes away to the city to get a better job so he can support the girl that he loves and wants to marry. But when he gets there, he gets into a bunch of shenanigans. Pretty much just ridiculous shenanigans. Yeah. And, because one of the best parts of the whole movie is when they're in the hotel and the rent's due for the room that they're staying at, and the maid comes in knocking, they get up, they put on their trench coats, and then they hang themselves up on this hook, and then they put their feet up, and she comes in, she's like, there's no one in here, and then he goes off. Well, then he takes his seat, and he's like, I really wanted that seat. So he pretends like he knocks, and the guy goes up and does the thing. He just sits down. He's like, okay, I get the chair now. But there's also a part where he wants to send something back to his girlfriend. So what he does is he buys her a golden necklace. And it's like $15.50. Remember, this is a different time period, so things cost way less than what they were. Yeah, $15.50 for gold. So he comes in and he has $15 only. And then he's got 50 cents in his pocket, and he's really hungry. So it shows a plate, and it shows him counting out one at a time 10 cents. And the things are disappearing because that disappears from that meal. It just gets to a point where there's no meal. He ends up sending it back to her, and then she's like, "Oh, he's doing so well, blah blah blah," because he's lying to her about his success.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
think
thing.
we all do that at some point, don't we, guys?
You want to impress a girl sometimes, so you'll be like, "Yeah, I'm actually an owner of a 5 fortune company, small loan of $1 million." Okay, nothing past that. But the thing is she decides, "Oh, I'm going to go visit him in the city," and I was like, "Oh no, I hate movies like that where you're just like, oh, it's just going to be a ring around the whole time." So he ends up like doing it, and she comes, and then there's a whole bunch of shenanigans. But the funniest part about this film, the best part that I like, is he works as like a fashion designer person, where he like cuts out the fabric and gives it to people, or he makes them. Well, up at the top, there's someone packing these things for him. Well, there was a sale going on, so there's all these women like up against the counter, and they're like dragging him, pulling him, and he's like, and he's taking off his clothes, he's like, and he's trying to do this, and one time he picks up a cat because he thinks it's a piece of clothing, and what happens is, the girl up top that's packs everything for him, like he'll give him a piece of clothing, she'll pack it up and then give it to him, and then she can give it to that person. Well, it happens, and he taps her, but all these women are trying to do it, and he's like, how? The woman's like way out in this crowd, and he's like, oh, how am I going to get to her? Here, come here, and he couldn't get to her. So the audio pops up, well, the little page pops up and says, "Who dropped the $50 bill?" And the next thing you see, all the women just jump down and like start looking for it. And this old lady, he's just like, "Here you go," like gives it to her. That was hilarious. But the thing is this is a comedy movie, but it's a slapstick comedy. It's more of like, there's not really jokes and stuff because they have to show the physical comedy.
Correct.
That's what silent films were all about. They had to show physical presence to make up for the dialogue.
And I think that's what kind of makes a silent comedy so good.
Yeah.
It's the action there. Instead of today like an action movie where people are racing cars and spaceships flying by and people making leaps across buildings, you have little gestures, but they're done so well that that's the action of the whole movie.
So at the end of the film, he tries to pay his buddy to climb a building. And the police officer realizes who it is, and he's like, "Hey, he's the one that pushed me over." So he decides to go there, and he starts climbing the building. Well, he's about to climb the building, but the police officer's there is waiting for him. So it ends up where the main person has to climb the building, and he's going to get $15,000. So he's climbing, and, there's a whole bunch of riffraff. There's a dog in there. You can't go through the window or anything like that. And his buddy's like, "Hey, this cop's after me. Just climb up one more floor, and then, I'll come out and climb the rest." He's like, "Okay." And then when he get up a floor, he's like, "No, I can't. There's a cop. You're going to have to climb up another."
Yeah.
Before you know it, he gets all the way at the top. And when he gets at the top, there's like this weather antenna. And it's got balls in it, and he keeps on they kind of hint that he's going to hit it, and then he finally does, and he gets knocked down. He's like, "Oh,
He's leaning way out there.
and he's done like the lean thing, and he catches himself on a rope, and then he falls off, and it kind of swings, and he swings up to his girl, and they kiss, and they go off, and that's the end of the movie. That they become happy with each other.
Plus, they get the money probably.
But overall, it was a decent silent film for what it was.
Oh, look at this. We're talking so great about it. Now it's only decent.
Here's the problems I do have with the film. The film does suffer from being too ridiculous. I understand it is a silent film, stuff like that, and you have to do with the whole comedy thing. But sometimes I think they rely too much on it, and they try to make it more funny than what it needs to be.
Really was?
Yeah, they should have just it was funny. Let's move on to something else. It was more like, hey, let's keep the pace with this. I was like, yeah, it is kind of, after a while, the same jokes kind of get filtered a little bit, like going up. You got to go one more up, you kind of predict that. Yeah. The clock part was fantastic, though. That was like my favorite part where he's hanging on the clock. That stupid clock keeps coming back at him. He fall in the clock, and it's like, ow, and then you go up. But overall, the problems I do have with this film is just, it is a lot of reading, which is fine, for an hour and a half. But the thing is a lot of people don't like to read things. It's kind of like when I make you watch a foreign film and you want to read subtitles. You have to read subtitles the whole film. You can't really do that because you're focused on reading. But why this movie is better than subtitles is because it stops the film, puts the lettering up, and then you have to read it, and then it goes back down.
True. Which makes it easier because you're actually looking at the screen. You're actually like, here's something that happened or somebody, you see lips moving, and it's like, okay.
Yep.
So, and then sometimes I've noticed, and it's just me, when I was younger, watched a lot of silent films, is that as you're watching a movie, you kind of know what they're going to say because you've seen the scene. So sometimes you're like, well, I wonder why they put it in here because it really wasn't necessary. But you kind of half read it and you already know what's going on anyway.
Yeah, so the movie's very predictable because it's older. So the same movies that are coming out now have kind of took things from that movie because it is a very big silent film. Supposedly, it's like one of the best comedies of silent film. Yeah. So I watched it, loved it. I thought it was a good film. I don't think that I'd keep watching it. Like, it's not one of those movies where, like, hey, let's pull that off the shelf and watch it. Charlie Chaplin.
Once every 5 years, maybe.
yeah, it's every 5 years. Or someone's like, hey, I want to watch this. It's not like Charlie Chaplin or Metropolis, where I want to, those are really good films. But overall, if I had to rate it to a 1 to 10, I would have to rate it probably an 8.
Well, that's good. 8's good. 8 is really good.
So it's really good. Problems with people if they have to read it, because I know people don't like to read sometimes. But
it's not like it's subtitles, though. It's easier to go through.
Well, that, and you have to filter yourself through all the cheesiness because it was a different time period and people thought things were differently funny. And, and that's the thing. But I really thoroughly enjoyed this, actually. And you can watch this on YouTube. They actually have a link up on YouTube.
There you go.
You can watch it. So, that's pretty much what I think of that film. But next week on Classy Nerd Talk, Then and Now, I picked the genre of
adventure,
and you're making me watch
Akira, Wrath of God from 1972. And I think this is a foreign film, is it not?
Yeah, it is. I think it's Spanish.
Yeah. We'll see how you do on this one.
It's about the Concords, I think.
See, we're making this man educate and expand his mind. Silent films. Old black and white films. Now some strange foreign films. Based on what I remember on this one.
Now I'll have to get you back on a strange foreign film.
I know, bro. You probably will. But
anyway. Old boy.
It's coming. I can feel it.
Okay, so you picked the genre of
drama.
Okay, so I'm going to make you watch Find Me Guilty starring Vin Diesel.
Hey, Vin Diesel. He's kind of cool.
And what's really cool about this film, Vin Diesel has hair.
Before Triple X. Awesome. He has hair.
He has hair. So it's really weird to see Vin Diesel with hair. There's only been 2 movies he's done that. And that's
I wonder if he was going bald and decided to shave it, or if it's just...
I don't know. I never...
Because I saw a picture online from that movie, and it looked like his normal hair. A lot like he had a toupee.
Yeah, like it was... He grew it himself. So I'm thinking he does shave.
Yeah.
But overall, I really like this movie. I think you'll really like it, too.
It's courtroom, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a courtroom. It's based about...
Those are pretty decent.
A bunch of gangsters that go to court, and it's actually considered like the longest and biggest court case in New York.
Wow, that's
so good. You'll like it. I think you will. But
great.
Did you watch Safety Last? Have you watched Rock-a-Doodle-Doo? Did you think it was that terrible? But but if you did, we'd like to know. Comment down below, like and subscribe to our channel. Also, too, is join us on Facebook on the Classy Nerd Talk group so we can talk more about it. We can bring up ideas, anything you want us to, talk about. Or if you want to be part of this, just give us a chat or like a little message and, we'll get back to you on that. So,
sounds good.
Just remember, if you're not classy enough, if you're not nerdy enough, you're not classy enough for this channel.
Yeah, we did that one good, didn't we? Thanks, folks. We hope you're enjoying these shows. Yeah. And if you are, let us know, and we'll just keep doing more of them. Thanks.
All right, thanks.